Hello and welcome to Democracy Today. I am Odion Bello. In this edition, Christian Association of Nigeria asks federal government to pull out of all international religious organizations.
The issue of ASME is squarely addressed, and the president responded in the affirmative.
Political parties react to 2018 budget estimates.
The budget performance for the 2017 budget has not even gotten up to 15%. So these are the issues, these are questions that we must ask. If we're going to pass this budget and this one has not gotten up to 15%, how do you get the balance?
And PDP national chairmanship aspirant Gbenga Daniels picks nomination form. We'll serve you details after the break. The Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) has asked the federal government to pull out of all international religious organizations to respect the sanctity of the Nigerian Constitution. Speaking after a closed-door meeting with President Buhari at the State House, the CAN president, Shukwu Ayokunle, said the association also wants the president to address perceived imbalance in the distribution of federal appointments and resolve the threats posed by herdsmen to national security.
The issue of ASME is squarely addressed, and the president responded in the affirmative that it was as a result of the end of Gaddafi over there. People that they had given guns to moved down south, and some of them infiltrated into our country, and they mix with the normal herdsmen that we used to have, and they are menacing the entire community. But since the government also knows that it's a problem, we believe that more attention will be paid into doing something to stop that. No CAN member is opposed to Muslims practicing their own financial system, but it is wrong for government to be the one that is initiating it, promoting it. They veer out of their job description, and to us, it's a violation of the Constitution.
Political parties have also been taking a look at the 2018 budget estimates and the assumptions on which it is based, as well as the allocations to the different sectors. The national chairman of the Labour Party, Abdulkadir Abdulsalam, says the health sector needs more attention than what has been estimated for it.
Yeah, they call it a budget of consolidation. I want to believe they are actually consolidating. That's number one. Secondly, I want to believe that President Buhari is gradually becoming a true politician, understanding the needs, opinions, and aspirations of Nigerians. But one fundamental thing that is missing, health area should have taken chunk of the budget, because the extent to which we go on medical pilgrimage abroad ought to be contained or stopped or reduced considerably from this budget. But all the same, I hope they will look at it and see how it is. Because if the president's wife can say most of our hospitals lack basic amenities, basic equipment that will identify certain sicknesses, certain diseases, unless we go abroad, unless we go to hospital owned by foreigners, I think it belittles us beyond imagination. So I want to appeal that while the National Assembly are considering this year's budget, they should give health the priority which it requires. People like us know what we are saying, because that is slightly provocation. People go to India, people go to Germany, people go to Britain. But now many Nigerians don't have the resources to do that because of the level of poverty. I think the National Assembly should look at the budget critically and come out with those areas that will make Nigerians feel more comfortable, make food to be on the table of every Nigerian. Now we are experiencing 0.010. I hope when they look at it critically, it will improve our income.
The national chairman of the People's Progressive Alliance, PPA, Peter Ahmed, believes it is a tough one for legislators trying to meet up with the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper and the budget estimates, all in 6 weeks, to enable a return to the January to December fiscal year.
First of all, I would like to commend on the president, in trying to make sure that the budget cycle is restricted from between January to December. That's why the early submission of the budget. But, budget cycle is not compulsory to be from January to December. It could be from March to March, June to, But since they are taking a decision that I want it to run on a 12, month, January, December calendar period, we should commend him for this early, submission of the budget. But there are some of the components of the budget that are not satisfactory, that are worrisome, like the interest rate that has been put on the Eurobond on this thing, because you are looking for a way to try to entice, those who buy the bond. But this also has a special implication, because as time runs long run, the future generations that are coming will be indebted to this bond buyers, and this will cost Nigeria on a global scale financially. But apart from that, we are expecting him, because the last complaint from the insinuation and some of the information we got from the House is that the budget performance for the 2016-2017 budget has not even gotten up to 15%. So these are the issues, these are questions that we must ask. If we're going to pass this budget and this one has not gotten up to 15%, how do you get the balance? How do you know when to add up and then add up to create a new budget?
I think that what is more worrisome, according to the lawmakers, is the fact that they have just 6 weeks to do their oversight functions, look at the allocations to the different sectors, and they believe that somehow it is not possible to do a thorough job. Do you think they can do a thorough job within this time frame and be able to meet up with the January to December fiscal year?
I've said it clearly. There's no time for you to balance this. I don't know how the National Assembly want to do it to be able to help the president and help Nigerian populace. Because whatever we do, and if you look at that these things are not in a proper perspective, and we decide to slow down, who will bear the burden? Is the Nigerian people. So the National Assembly, as a People's Focus Assembly, should wake up and do whatever necessary to be done. Because they are also there, like I said, argued in the previous budget presentation, that the National Assembly can add, subtract, and then look at areas where the budgetary provisions were not properly made to make sure that these budgetary provisions are catered for. Because currently, the Senate President was asking that those pensioners and students who are overseas, who have not gotten their money and their tuition pay, they should come up with the data so that they can make budgetary provisions for them. So what the responsibility of the Senate now and the National Assembly as a whole is to make sure that this thing is speedily done and forgoing the shortcomings of the executive to make sure the Nigerian people does not continue to remain in this current recession that we find ourselves.
But of course, if you watch the budget presentation, you would be aware that the president promised that there will be releases for capital projects to ensure that the budget performs to at least 50% before the end of December.
The 50% is not still good enough. You can see when you have the recession that we've just gone through. One of the important things that the country must do is to pump money into circulation and put money into capital projects, into infrastructure development, so that there will be much money in circulation, so that people can dies down the current poverty rate, the current hunger rate in the society. So if the budget rate and performance and releases is this slow, and you're talking about 50%, we are generating now, and you're talking about 50% from now to December. I see no possibility, but I'm an optimist, so I'll go along with the promise. But the fact remains that whatever we are going to do, we must be able to know that budget performance must be followed, not just submission. Because now we have submission. The Senate will be going on a break. Is there a possibility that they will pass this budget before January?
You're also aware that the medium-term expenditure framework and the fiscal strategy paper were only presented less than 3 weeks ago. In fact, the budget was presented just 2 weeks after those two documents were given to the lawmakers. And they still have to consider those documents before the budget. How possible is this?
If we are talking about satisfactory, I don't think that is possible, because 6 weeks it's a very short time to be able to go around, look at budget performance level, look at project performance level, and look at implementation level of the contractors, and then see the compliance level. This is a difficult this in tax to carry out within 6 weeks. So, but what like I said, this budget of 8 point something trillion, about 2 point something trillion is go for debt servicing. Is 2 point something trillion of that budget is going for debt servicing, and about the other 6 trillion, what is the level of the capital expenditure that is there? So the National Assembly must still sit down. If it means that we cannot achieve January to December cycle, they will take a decision that will favor us, because we don't have to rush, because the money of our country is involved, the future of our country involved, and the future of the generations lie upon a properly presented and how they call it, looked into budget. Because if we don't do the right thing now, by tomorrow we'll bear the burden of our mistakes.
Another aspect also that the lawmakers did not like is his comment on employment, where he said, we were going to, the government would invest more in agriculture, invest in education and some other sectors, but at the same time that there will be no employment. How can you develop those sectors without employment?
I will go with the president on this one. One of the major mistakes we've made, mostly in Africa and developing nations like ours, is that more people think that government can employ everybody. Government has no capacity to employ. What the functions of government is supposed to be, basically, to develop small-scale businesses, SMEs, and create an environment for them to thrive, for them to create an environment for farmers and for young people to be able to be encouraged to go into the agricultural industry. But agriculture, when we talk, we hear the minister talk that the agricultural this term can develop Nigeria. I find it difficult, because even in Cote d'Ivoire, when Cote d'Ivoire produced cocoa, and it is, I think, the second largest producer of cocoa in the world, and they earned about $2.8 million from $2.8 billion last year. But those who are transforming this cocoa into chocolate earn about 18.5 billion last year. So who makes more money? So we must look at how to take technology and use innovation to be able to create job and proper environment created so that our youth. One of the demographic advantage we have is that we have more young people than old people. So our youth will be able to now look at the opportunities that are there, and government will create, like the U-Win that was working before, create an environment where you can access money, when entrepreneurship skills is more encouraged, so that this thing can blossom. Because the government cannot just continue to blood our civil service that is in comatose, it's not effective, it's not working the way it should be working in the optimal level. We can't continue to add more staff to this group. Taking all the money, if you want to pay salary now in this budget now, if you look at, I don't know the exact figure, you look at what is going, but the administrative system is not as effective as it should be. So government should look at areas. What the president has said about creating jobs is the best thing to do, not just to employ, but to also teach people how to be able to create jobs and re-employ, and then expand the chain. This chain system, where if you have a small scale business, small SME, medium and small scale enterprises, entrepreneurs, you have a small one, you can employ 3 people, 4 people. That is the chain. That is the only unit that holds the country together. Even in America, in China, in Japan, it is not the manufacturing company that keep the economy together. It's the smaller unit of businesses that is created in multiple folds that make the country goes and allow money to go around within the pocket of individuals within that particular country. So we must take away the fact that government must employ people here, government must employ people there. We must be self-sufficient individually and be able to create this opportunity for ourselves. But government must create the environment for these brains and this mind of ours to thrive effectively.
One of the reasons the lawmakers were going to protest on that day, because a lot of them had the placards under their chairs, and they were actually going to protest, but the Speaker and the Senate President have now had to prevail on them. One of the reasons is the issue of non-implementation of constituency projects. The second one is the poor performance of the budget, and of course the subsequent hardship in the land. And now you look at the case of constituency projects. Is it really necessary for the government to focus on that?
You see, we're developing our nation, and our electoral system is still developing too. Then our the voting population, is not as experienced and as exposed and educated as the developed nation, the developed nations that you find all over the world. One of the major problems is that if you become a House of Rep member, your constituents are expecting you to come and build road. They expect you to come and do create pipe, build pipe and water, do small, medium town hall building. It is not even the responsibility of a member of the National Assembly to do all that. But because if you don't do that, when it comes to election, when the election, they will ask you what you have done. But sincerely, if you look at the truth and must be stated where they are supposed to just make laws for the good governance of the country, and also be able to look at how the executive is and act as a check to the performance of the executive in the execution of project. But because of the system we find ourselves, because of the electoral system we find ourselves, where people think that everybody elected is supposed to perform an executive function, that is why you see that they are agitating that, oh, election is around the corner in another 1 year plus. What have I done in my area? What are the projects I've been able to attract to my area? Because even the state governors who are already emperors are failed in their duties to develop their communities. So the National Assembly members are also taking this responsibility, part of the executive function upon themselves, which is like taking to work, making laws, and then performing execution, which is not supposed to be. They are supposed to monitor if these projects are well done, monitor if these projects are meeting up with the how they call it, process of awarding of contract, and then see the transparency process as effective as possible. But like I said, our system has not developed to a point where our literally understand these demarcations when it comes to functions and executions of different responsibility by elected office holders.
I'm sure you heard the news, like most Nigerians, about the 26 young Nigerian girls that drowned in the Mediterranean Sea en route to Italy because of the hardship in the land. Is that not a failure of government?
I made a comment on Twitter over this issue about even the inability of the president to respond as quickly as possible, because the 26 young Nigerian girls, our sisters that drowned at the Mediterranean Sea, is a national disaster. It's a shame that in Nigeria, with our abundant natural and human resources, be struggling to go through routes that were endangering the lives of our people. I remember many that came from Libya to Edo State. Currently, the Edo State governor is rehabilitating them. But this is a shame, and it's because of the failure of governance. Before now, failure of governance. Nigerians are not doing enough to educate to give proper education to the youth, to the coming one, to understand that going abroad is about perception. Thinking that when you get there, most of them think that milk and honey will flow on roadside. Sincerely, it's about perception. The amount of work that you put in going to London and America, if you put that amount of work here, you achieve the same result. But we don't have a better national orientation agency that is doing this work. We have a national orientation agency that even has found itself engulfed in political activity more than reorientating our teeming young population. So if we tell them, if you have traveled overseas, I know you have traveled, and I have traveled severally, but if you go out, you find out Nigerians are doing odd job worse than what they would have done in Nigeria overseas. But because there's a perception that if you go out, your life will be better. But because if you have gone out and the life is not better, it's not that somebody will come back and tell people, no, I'm regretting, no. So that is it. We must have National Orientation Agency that must wake up to its responsibility, wake up to its function of enlightening Nigerians, and the media must also help to bring out documentaries about how dangerous these routes are. I've seen adverts on your station when you talk about this route, but you must put more effort. Let's talk more of issues that affect our citizens than on issues that don't count. So the budget must focus on youth empowerment. It must focus on entrepreneurship, because that is the spirit of the Nigerian man, of the Nigerian people. The spirit is that, because how many does government employ? Take a look at it. We have 170 million in population. The workforce, the Nigerian forces does not go beyond, the Nigerian police don't go beyond 500,000. Armed forces don't go beyond 1.something million. Then you talk about the federal civil service. Are they going to be more than 3 million? So you now look at the rest of the people are unemployed. And half of that people are self, they are self-fighting for themselves. They're in these little businesses, maybe the computer center, the marketplace, they sell their tomatoes. They look for, through bad roads, they get to the market. No light, no infrastructure for them to even sleep well. They provide their own water through borehole. They provide their own electricity through running of small generators and big generators. And they provide their own security. So where is the function of governance, of government? So we must sit together and discuss how government must work, and put round pegs in round hole and square pegs in square hole. Because it is very important that we do the right thing. Our youth will continue to want to go out if Nigeria continues to remain like this, and will continue to be laughing stock to nation worldwide. Because with what we have, I have not seen any country that is as blessed as our country. I've none. I've walked around. I've not seen any country that has in Japan. They are looking for people to get married and have children because the young people no longer interested in even having to getting involved in a relationship, and they have more older people than young people. Look at the demographic data that has been provided. Look at how we have teeming, energetic people that can put this nation back on the front. And the young people too must also take some part of the blame. You must participate. You must get involved in the process. You don't sit by the road, sit in your room and expect to come. Power is not served, or opportunity is not served on a gold-plated table. You must come and get involved and try to learn the policy framework, try to learn the political process, how it works, and get engaged in this thing so that we can change and also retrieve the country for those who are driving it to a negative end.
Thank you very much for talking to us on democracy today on Africa Independent Television.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Aspirant for the position of National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party and former Governor of Ogun State, Gbenga Daniels, has officially picked his nomination form for the chairmanship race. He picked the form when he visited the party secretariat at Wadata House in Abuja. He spoke on the move by some members of the Board of Trustees from the Southwest Zone to reduce the number of contestants for the chairmanship race from the zone by way of consensus.
Your Excellency, to present to you the nomination form for the National Convention. I wish you tremendous luck, sir. I wish you success. Pleasure, sir.
My take is that everybody has a right to his opinion. The information at my disposal indicated that one BOT member signed that report. I didn't have any information whether there was any formal meeting held anywhere. So my own understanding is that that is his own personal idea. Creating a consensus in its own is not a bad idea, but what a number of us thought was that if there is supposed to be a consensus, proper criteria, should be listed. Apart from that, the locus of the people who want to do the consensus should be established, and more than anything else, all the people that are concerned probably should have been given an opportunity to, say something before the judge. All of that did not take place. I have no grudge against whoever did what he did, but I thought that's his own personal opinion. And of course, there are so many other people who have different opinions as far as this race is concerned.
And that's how we wrap it up on today's edition of the program. Join us same time tomorrow for more updates. I am Ojon Bello. Thanks for staying with us.